This is the Extra Ember on the Inferno Laser Sports Show with your host, Jalen Scott. It's a new day in Titletown and thus the dawn of a new segment on the Inferno Blazer Sports Show. Thank you all for joining us today and tuning in today. My name is Jalen Scott and I'm one of the hosts of the Inferno Blazer Sports Show, which you can find the first episode of that on Spotify and YouTube, and we encourage you all to check it out maybe after you're done with this episode. Today is October 4th, 2023, and like I just said, this is the dawn of a brand new segment, which I like to call the Extra Ember. Now, these short little episodes are for topics that we couldn't get to in the main episodes of the Inferno. Like, for example, our first episode, there are a couple topics that we discussed prior to the show, but we couldn't get it on the main show, mainly due to time constrictions. We keep a self-imposed time limit for right now, just so we're comfortable using the equipment and we're comfortable with each other and our voices, and figuring out this podcast space. So, of course, on the first episode, we talked a lot about Blazer volleyball, Blazer football, and I had my little rant about the Dallas Cowboys. Screw you, Chris, the Eagles fan, starting that all off. Anyways, on today's segment of the Extra Ember as part of the first episode, we're going to be talking about Blazer soccer and their uptick in GSC performances and their wins as of recent. Now, to preface this, we got to talk about Blazer soccer's recent success. They've had 2 straight wins over Gulf South Conference opponents, Christian Brothers and Union, this past weekend, winning 2-1 and 2-0, respectively. 4 goals for the Blazers, only 1 for the opponents. Hey, you know what? The women's soccer team will definitely take it, with them now going 5-2-3 overall, 3-2-1 in GSC play. A definite tick up from how they started off GSC play at 1-2-1. Which, speaking of starting off conference play, that's usually one of the key points in the season where you want to have a strong. You want to start strong and cement try to begin your cementation. I guess you can use that term for proving to the rest of the conference that you are a threat, that you're a threat in the rest of the conference, that you're looking at other teams like Lee, like Delta State, like Christian Brothers, like Union, Mississippi College, and all those other GSC opponents, because ultimately that's what's going to matter when you come in towards the end of the season and you play in that GSC tournament, which ultimately can affect if you make it to the national tournaments. But right now, it's still early in the season. We're early in GSC play, so let's focus on the now. And again, it's a bit of a rough start for this Blazer soccer team, going 1-2-1 in their first 4 GSC matchups, only winning 1 out of those 4 matches. Again, with that win being against Auburn Montgomery, the Auburn Montgomery Warhawks. That was their first GSC win. It was the first GSC game Valdosta State played. They came out the win. They dropped two other GSC matches. Against Montevallo and another team. They're kind of blanking on me right now. And they recently also tied against West Alabama. So Alabama Huntsville, that was the other team they lost to. So we picked up a win against Auburn Montgomery, lost to Alabama Huntsville, lost to Montevallo, had a 1-1 tie against West Alabama. Now we're back on that uptick again. We're back in that upswing with a 2-1 win over Christian Brothers and 2-0 win over Union. Now one thing I really want to pay attention to, because I've been to a good majority of these games. I also work with Blazer Sports Media along with Kyle and Chris. So usually when I'm not doing the PA announcing for volleyball, say like volleyball's away, or say volleyball's at home. Obviously, I can't do Blazer Sports Media for volleyball because I'm doing the PA announcing, so I usually work these soccer games as well. And one thing that I've really noticed about this soccer team so far, especially these past 2 matches that happened this past weekend, is an uptick. There's a change in not exactly offensive philosophy, but offensive scoring potential. Well, even then, that's not the correct word to say. Their finishing ability, that's where I want to go to. Their finishing ability has increased drastically and has been a gigantic improvement so far. And that's my number one theory. And that's my number one theory for what really is beginning and keeping up this uptick in Blazer soccer so far is their ability to finish at the net, especially these really up close chances. And the soccer team has very great offensive push. They are a possession based, opportunistic, counter-attacking team that if the Blazers have the ball, the other team's defense is going to have a long, like 10 to 15 minutes of just constant Blazer pressure. It's not easy to get a clear off them because the other team can get a clear to about midfield, but the midfield play from Valdosta State has been extremely strong to be able to push the ball back up the field, back into their attacking zone. So it usually ends up being a struggle for a lot of opposing defenses to keep that contained. The only real danger to a lot of these offensive chances, this offensive pressure is offsides. But I mean, it screws teams both ways, so you can't really say anything about that. Again, VSU having that strong midfield play on transitions, even when the ball gets all the way back to the Blazers' defensive end and the goalkeeper has to pick it up. The Blazers are so quick to get the ball up the field, from defense to midfield to attack to the forwards. It's such a methodical, smooth, but also quick transition up the field, leading to more offensive pressure and more offensive chances. And it's also not to say the Blazers aren't getting shots on net. The Blazers, again, with that offensive pressure, obviously you got to do something with this. So they're getting shots on shots on shots. Like something I want to point out here. With the Blazers lost to Alabama Huntsville, their home GSC opener, Blazers had 19 shots. Granted, 6 of them were on goal. But that still outshot Alabama Huntsville by 7 shots. Again, it only when it comes to shots on goal, we only outshot them on goal by 1. But a game I really want to pay attention to was the 1-1 draw against West Alabama. I was attending that game. I was on the camera. And in the first half, the Blazers had the ball for like over half the frame, for over half the first half, which I know sounds kind of ridiculous to say, but for about 25 minutes plus, it was just nothing but Blazers on the attack. The ball pretty much stayed in Valdosta State's offensive half and almost barely got across the other side into the defensive end, except for maybe like 4 or 5 times. Of course, that number's a bit exaggerated. Probably happened a couple more times than that. But it was a lot of Blazer offensive pressure, and that definitely shows in the team statistics and the stat line. 19 to 10 shots for Valdosta State. You don't get those kind of numbers anywhere. You don't get those kind of numbers from any sort of subpar or just kind of mid-level offensive pressure, more defensive oriented teams that they're maybe not so heavy on the offensive pressure, but Valdosta State, they are super heavy on the offensive pressure. They want the goaltender to make saves, which again going back to that stat line, West Alabama had to make their goaltender had to make 9 saves and only allowed 1 goal. So again, it ended in a 1-1 tie, but the Blazers were keeping the offensive pressure going the entire way, all the way through the game. 19 shots, 10 of those on goal. Only one of those went in, which came off. I have to look at my notes here. Which came off the 87th minute. That was the game-tying goal from Ainsley DeCenzo, who we're about to hear from in just a moment. No, she's not actually here. I got an interview with her after the Christian Brothers game, and as a matter of fact, I'm actually going to turn the segment over to that interview segment right now, where she talks about that finishing ability for Valdosta State, how it really came to shine, and how that's something that was a minor bit of an Achilles heel. Especially in those games against West Alabama and Alabama Huntsville, but they really showed it against Christian Brothers with that 2-1 win, which I'm going to talk about after this short little interview segment. So we're going to give it over to Ainsley DeCenzo, who again had that game-tying goal against West Alabama. Here's the audio clip.
We are having a lot of luck, and I think a really big thing that we as a team need to work on is just finishing, putting goals in the back of the net. And I can say, yes, we did have a lot of chances tonight. I had a couple that I should have finished, but we came out with the win, so that's all that really matters.
And she's right. That is all that really matters. And going to that Christian Brothers game, which is another game that I also attended, which is another game I also attended. If I could find the right one. Here it is. Yes. 2 second half goals. 2 second half goals led to a Blazer win that night against Christian Brothers University on, when was that game? Was, I'm already forgetting my dates. Which was on Friday, September 29th. Again, that was a huge win for Valdosta State going against Christian Brothers University, a team that wasn't doing so hot in the GSC at the time. They were 1-2 in GSC play. Had a 3-3-2 record, so very similar to Valdosta State. It was going to be a very even matchup. Christian Brothers got the first goal early in the first half off a penalty shot, but that second half was where that finishing ability of getting goals, of getting the ball in the back of the net, really shined through for the through the Blazers there. Anna Maleka getting a goal in that game to tie up the game. With just 11-14 remaining. Actually, I think I'm reading that incorrectly, but yes, Anna Maleka at the 66th minute. So second half, about midway in the second half. Anna Maleka with their 6th goal on the season, finishing off a really great assist by Jocelyn Obale, shot into the back right of the goal. Again, that finishing ability really coming through, shining through. And the game winner, made by Hunter Wallace, which, first of all, congratulations to her for her first collegiate goal against Christian Brothers. I'm pretty sure that was a fantastic moment for the sophomore. She scores the game winning goal at the 78th minute, securing the win against Christian Brothers. Which another note I want to bring to that. I mentioned very briefly the midfield and defensive play, but it is locked down like nothing. Like going back to that Christian Brothers game, the Blazer defense and midfield held Christian Brothers without a shot for a long while. I think it was after Anna Maleka's goal. So, which again, that was at the 66th minute. So you're talking 23, 24 minutes straight of no shots allowed. Must have been really easy for the Blazer goaltender, Claire Timberlake. Speaking of Claire Timberlake, she netted her first shutout against the Union Bulldogs and a 2-0 win in Correction. This happened just recently, this Sunday, October 1st, first of the month. Happy birthday to my little sister. So two great things happened today. It was my little sister's birthday, and Blazers came out with another great win, 2-0 shutout. That's Claire Timberlake's first shutout of the season. So again, congratulations to her. But something I really want to point out here: 20-3 shots for VSU, 15-2 shots on goal. That is just amazing. And without going too much further into analysis here, we're going to bring back Ansley DeCenzo here, who's going to talk about what those wins really mean, especially in conference play. So that being said, here's Ansley DeCenzo.
Obviously, it's very crucial to start good in the conference. We're kind of like getting in like the patch of games that are going to be more of a battle for us, I feel like, as a team. But these are wins that we need to win. The locker room, the vibes are going to be great. They always are after a win. So, and we are a very close-knit team. So, wins like this, they really do mean a lot to us.
And of course, they're going to mean a lot, especially for a team again that's on the up and up. That's kind of found their finishing touch. So far, they've lost it a couple. They've lost it. They kind of lost it. They were still getting goals. It's not like they were getting shut out that their offense couldn't produce. Their offense was still producing, but just a lot of high volume of shots on net. Just unable to convert on a lot of those. And in these past two games against Christian Brothers and Union, they've definitely been able to showcase that finishing potential of getting the ball in the back of the net. So again, these are extremely key wins in Gulf South Conference play, and it definitely gives the Blazers momentum heading out to Cleveland, Mississippi to play the Delta State Statesmen in another Gulf South Conference matchup. That's definitely going to be a fun one to watch. Unfortunately, because it is not a Blazer home game, we can't. It's not so much we won't be able to have a stream on BlazerSportsMedia.com, which is how you would find all of our Blazer Sports session, our Blazer soccer matches. You can find all of those on BlazerSportsMedia.com. Because it's an away game, we won't be able to have that. But I think this is something I'm going to bring up in the next episode of the Inferno. And speaking of that Christian Brothers game, that game was also youth night. That game was also youth night against the Buccaneers. And I just want to say, what an amazing give back to the community that the Blazer soccer team decided to do. It's hard for me to put into words, but a college athlete, especially professional athletes and college athletes, their influence on young kids and their minds, especially young sports fans who want to be like these men and women that they're watching on TV, that they're watching on live streams, that they're coming out to games and seeing. It's a really great thing for the community. And after the game, which was a really good game, by the way, and again, led to a Blazer win, probably the most packed out we've seen the VSU soccer complex so far, of families and their kids and their soccer jerseys. It was just a really fun atmosphere. And after the game, they were doing autographs, they were doing pictures, the players were signing shirts, they were signing jerseys, they were getting pictures with the kids and the families. Just a really, really great thing that the Blazer soccer team is doing for their local Valdosta community, and spreading the influence of getting kids to look at these Blazers and go, I want to be like you. I want to be like you one day, and hopefully that'll inspire these kids when they grow up to either pursue soccer, pursue sports, and to then later on give that same kind of kindness and thing to the next generation of kids. It's just overall an amazing thing. Great job by the Blazer soccer team doing that youth night promotion. Just overall, just fantastic. And also, this is about time we're going to wrap up the segment. So again, the recap from the final scores: 2-1 versus Christian Brothers, 2-0 versus Union. Again, congratulations to Claire Timberlake on her first shutout of the season. Blazer Soccer is going to be on the road to Cleveland, Mississippi to play against the Delta State Statesmen on October 6th. And with that being said, I would strongly encourage you all to reach out and listen to the Inferno Blazer Sports Show. Our first ever episode, The Spark, is now out on YouTube and Spotify. This episode of the Extra Ember is also going to go on Spotify and YouTube for you all to listen to. If you like this podcast, if you have any feedbacks, or not this podcast, if you like this episode or the Inferno Blazer Sports Show, have any comments, suggestions, anything you want me or my other hosts or the other hosts to be doing, please let us know. We would greatly appreciate the feedback, because this is something we're all learning, and we all just want to get better every day. Every time we step into the recording studio, we always want to get better. So again, please check out the Inferno Blazer Sports Show on Spotify and YouTube. You can follow me on Instagram at jay.x.scott. And also, please be sure to check out the Inferno Blazer Sports Show on Instagram. That will be at the Inferno BSS. Yes, I know that sounds a little ridiculous, but when you take the Inferno Blazer Sports Show and make it initials, it kind of ends up like that. So again, that's gonna do it for me here at the Extra Ember. Again, thank you all for joining me today and for tuning in. And I hope you have a wonderful day, and go Blazers.